I remember when one of my first jobs out of college was working for salespeople. It didn't seem on the up and up, so I thought I'll never be a salesperson. Lo and behold, here I am, a realtor, a salesperson, and I thought, well, isn't that ironic? But then I realized you can be whatever type of salesperson you want to be. So I was able to formulate what I wanted to be for my clients, which is to be honest and work hard for them and be very passionate about what they're looking for.
Well, welcome, Jen, to the pod. Super excited to have you here today.
Oh, man, I'm so excited to be here, Andy. Thanks for the opportunity.
You know, absolutely. I'm really, really excited to, I really respect your business from the outside. So I'm happy to be able to just have you share a story. And I feel like we have some commonalities and some bonds on things in life and personal life, which is really cool. So let's kind of dive right in if you're ready.
I'm ready.
All right. Tell me about, where did you grow up?
Coon Rapids.
Okay.
So good old northern suburb.
What was that like? Did you have the American dream lifestyle growing up, or what did that look like?
Oh, I suppose some people would think it is. We grew up in the country, dirt roads, and then the Oaks of Shenandoah came rolling in, and big houses and paved roads. So, it was just a good, wholesome growing up with a couple brothers and my mom and dad just working and playing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's cool. So is it like a farm or just like country living?
No, it was just out in the woods.
Yeah. Okay.
So, and then development came in. So, no, it wasn't a farm. It was just a few acres.
Oh, very, very cool.
Yeah.
So I know that we've shared a little bit about, as you were growing up, you had a fork in the road moment for you, that when you were a teenager, that you guys got into a really bad accident.
Yep, my older brother and I was 15 and he was 18. He had just graduated from high school and we got in a motorcycle accident. He did not make it out of there. So that was a very pivotal point for our whole family and stuff. So from there, I really tried to remember to live each day to the fullest, to try not to sweat the small stuff. Resilience, I guess. I learned a lot about myself and to know that I can make it. If I can make it through that, I can make it through almost anything.
Wow.
So, yeah, grit and determination came from there.
Yeah, I can imagine. So I'm sorry to hear that. That's, man, that's tough. You know, losing a sibling myself, I can relate to you in the pain of that, but I can't imagine what it would be like when you're a young teen and having to process all of this and just having the wild teenage life that you have of understanding yourself along the way too. Mm-hmm. Did you mature really fast after that?
Yeah, it was difficult to be in high school when everybody's having a good time and enjoying what you should be enjoying in high school. And then mine was, it just felt more mature. I was like, life is precious. Let's enjoy this. Don't sweat the small stuff. And it was a different experience for me, I think, than a lot of other people that hadn't gone through that.
Did it create empathy for you?
Did it create empathy for me?
Did you become more empathetic?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I mean, I felt like I could understand things in a different level than it was a more mature level of empathy, understanding how people were feeling and to give people more grace and stuff and understanding.
I can see where that grit and why you're just a beast of a business person now. You know, you got that grit from that of just experiencing it and realizing life still moves forward.
It really does. People don't really wait for you. They'll, give you some sympathy or empathy, but then, life just moves on. So I guess that's just the way it is.
Yeah. I got pain in my heart, on you saying that to me. So give me the Reader's Digest of what it looks like for how did you get into real estate? What's your story of how you got into real estate?
My story is I fell into real estate. We had just had our daughter. She was a couple months old. We had lived in Portland, Oregon, and moved back to the area, to River Falls. So I answered an ad for an administrative assistant for another real estate agent. So I just worked 20 hours a week for a while doing that. And he was like, Jen, you need to get your license here. And I was like, really? Okay. He clearly saw something in me that I just didn't even know that I had. And it's been a passion that I've loved ever since then. So that would have been 1999.
How long were you the administrative support until you became a full-time realtor?
Oh, well, probably for the first 10 years of my career until my kids were older. And then I went into full-time real estate and it wasn't the administrative part anymore.
So you were doing both?
I was doing both for a while, which I think is important because it's good to know the backstory of real estate, to know kind of the behind the scenes situation, and then to also know the sales part of it. So I think both are important.
Man, that gives you a huge competitive advantage because you were able to slowly step your way in.
Yeah.
So you got to understand the entire process in the background.
Yeah. And then I had a super mentor too, Roger Karshbaum. He was really good. So, and he was just honest and he was upfront and he worked hard for his clients. And, you know, he was just a really good role model.
He was a big real estate investor too, wasn't he?
Very much so. So yeah, he was the one that got me into investment as well. So that's why I have an investment portfolio because of him.
It is.
So yeah.
He had a big investment portfolio, didn't he?
Yes, he did. Yeah.
Yeah. So you got to see someone how they managed it on a large level.
Yep. And then I helped him manage that too. So I got to learn property management side of it as well. So him and I together did a lot of that stuff. So he taught me a lot.
Wow, that's like gold.
It is gold, yeah.
Real world education.
Yes.
Get to learn more doing that than you ever would maybe even in college, of having someone just teach you the ropes. So then you transitioned eventually into being your own independent realtor, right?
Yep, I did. Yeah. After he retired, then eventually, I started on my own. It was time for me to be on my own, I guess. I've enjoyed that a lot too. The ups and downs, making it what I want to be, I think is what I really enjoy. Because I remember when one of my first jobs out of college was working for salespeople, and I just didn't agree with how they maybe did business. It didn't seem on the up and up. So I thought, I'll never be a salesperson. And then lo and behold, here I am, a realtor, a salesperson. And I thought, well, isn't that ironic? But then I realized you can be whatever type of salesperson you want to be. So I was able to formulate what I wanted to be for my clients, which is to be honest and work hard for them and be very passionate about what they're looking for, because I consider it a very big honor to have people trust me to help them with their biggest investments, you know, listing, buying. It's just, I don't know, it's humbling every time. I just love it.
Yeah, I feel like you're the epitome of the relational realtor, right?
Yeah.
You have a skill, whether you know it or not, that you have like this likability factor. So then people are with you and enjoy working with you and then just want to work with you again. And that's just like who you are.
Yep, I just love it. It's very personal, you know. It excites me all the time just to be able to help people, especially first-time buyers, step up, step down. Yeah, each facet of life is exciting to be able to help them achieve their real estate goals. So, yeah, I like it.
Can we unpack the relational thing a little bit?
Sure.
Okay, cool. So I would imagine there's some tactics and things that you do that help you with that. So is there little things that you do in the process that you feel like help make the connection even better with the client, with you?
For sure. I really try to view things from how they might be viewing them, to really put yourself in their shoes. And one of the things that I felt like was important, especially during the pandemic when everything, and even now when there's these multiple offers and buyers are stressed out about looking and am I going to get a house or not? And to just stop and think, wow, look at all the work you just did to get right here. Like, you should be so proud of yourself. You saved this money, you're qualified, you can do this. And it's really just to stop and enjoy the process and not be so caught up in, oh my God, am I going to get this house? Am I going to get it or not? Because everybody gets the house they're supposed to get. You might have to go through 5 to 10 offers, but you'll get there. And I think it's just relaxing into the flow of real estate, to just be like, enjoy the process. Like, this is good. And then, I don't know, from there, I feel like they calm down, the trust comes, and it just flows.
So I see some things in you. You were in sports, right? So what did your sports journey look like? I
did track. In college, I played basketball, and I did track there where I did hurdles, and then I threw the javelin because it's just fun to throw stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, javelin I've always kind of
watch out
to watch. Right. Okay, cool. So that means you had some really good coaches that influenced you along the way. And I see a big correlation to people that have been coached on a high level, right? Or they're in the military and they follow a process and being a top producer like you are. Like, what did you learn? Like, is there things that just jump right off the top of your mind that from all that coaching, like, how does that correlate into real estate?
Time management is popping into my mind. Like, when I was in college, I had a job, went to college, and was in track. So you really had to manage your time properly, I guess, to be able to get all of that part done. So that's a big one. Plus just discipline, determination would be another one. Just that, I don't know, if you see something that you want to get done, that I can do it. Like, you can just put your mind to it and you can do it.
Mm-hmm.
So, but there are times when you wanted to go do something else, but you knew you couldn't because you had to study or you had to work. So you had to make choices of what it is that your priority was. So I suppose prioritizing then, right?
Yeah. Cool.
Yeah.
I feel like you're like soft on the outside, but like a killer on the inside. So you got this like personality that everything's like really soft, but your results are amazing. And you're like top tier. You got to be probably beyond top 1% of all realtors, but your personality, you're just like very soft about it. So, which is cool, which I think helps your likability factor that your clients really like to work with you.
We can't take life too serious, right, Andy?
Yeah. I get that. Yeah, I get a little obsessed sometimes. So
never.
Yeah. So what does your business look like today? So it's summer 2024. What does your team look like right now?
Well, it's super exciting. Like, as you know, I switched over to EXP earlier this year, which has been a big shift for me after being with my other brokerage for 15 years. So that was kind of scary, and I didn't know for sure, but EXP just seemed to be the right fit for what I needed, the challenge I needed. I needed to challenge myself, I guess. So that helped me dig in deeper to be like, okay, Jen, let's get the determination out. Let's get the grit factor out. You really need to promote yourself and grow yourself. I had my son working with me as a licensed realtor, and then I had an unlicensed assistant working with me as well. But now I have 2 assistants, and now I have 2 agents working with me. So as my team is slowly growing, that's been an exciting thing too, becoming more the leader instead of the one being led, I guess. So, but I feel like we're all being led and we're all being leaders. So it's kind of an interesting thing that I'm out of my comfort zone, but I like it. So I can just see I was maybe coasting before, not challenging myself for whatever reason. And now I'm like, all right, let's go. So that's exciting.
It is exciting.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. You rise to the challenges that you're putting in front of yourself, right?
Yeah. Well, and we talked about like your roles maybe changing a little bit, and now, or as you're going through different chapters of your life, and now mine is going to transition more into the leader role. And so that is, what does that look like? What does leadership look like for me and for the people that are working with me? And again, you can be whatever type of leader that you want to be. So that's something that I've had to dig deeper into myself to find out more about myself. Along the way, I've had to heal things that I didn't know I had in me. So it's been a very humbling journey for me to get to even this point, to just be authentically me. And I love it.
I love that. I think that when you're studying leadership and learning more about it, it's about mastering yourself to understand other people.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah.
And that's scary. That is and exciting. So, but to dig deep in yourself, to look at the insecure parts of yourself or the parts that you might not like about yourself, and then to take the time to heal them and address them and see where that came from, I think that takes grit and determination, for sure. And you've done that.
Yeah. Putting your ego to the side, right? We all have our own huge egos that we have.
You
have to like put that aside and understand, like, yeah, I agree with you, understanding your insecurities.
Yeah.
Understanding where you're really good too. And not forgetting that to lean on where you're really strong.
100%.
Yeah.
And sometimes you end up losing the sight of that a little bit when you're working on this other stuff. It might bring you down a little bit, but then just to remember that whatever's going on in your life is meant to help you. But sometimes we just got to peel back the layers and start healing that stuff and keep moving forward, be stronger and stronger, and move on.
Yeah, especially in today's real estate market, I like to say the word imposter syndrome. A lot of us can have, where it's like, are we good enough to rise to the times of how challenging? You know, with the mortgage market went down 70%, home sales went down 40%, right? Like, so the market for non-real estate people listening to this, the market changed a lot. It's actually really healthy and solid. There's just less sales, right? So it's not 2008. It's just less business happening.
Yes.
And it happens really fast, and it's different, and it's challenging.
Right. Well, you talk about like pivotal times in people's lives of stuff. I remember 2008 when the market changed there, and that was a pivotal point for me in terms of, do I stay in real estate or do I get another job? Because that was hard. So like even now might be hard, but I feel like 2008 was even harder or more difficult. So it's just, now I'm thinking, well, that taught me how to pivot. If you're going to stay, you can always stay and make money or do business, but you just have to change how you're doing business. And so that was a very important lesson for me. And you do a phenomenal job of that, of just pivoting. Like, you're like, all right, this isn't working. How am I going to do something different? I like that stuff.
Yeah,
you got to do that.
Totally. I feel like in 2021, it would be like one contact, I got 10 clients. And now it's 10 contacts, I get one client. Like it's totally reversed, where it's like, I have to do more to get way less, which is kind of a mind screw up. Totally, where it's like, holy smokes, like you have to do so much more to actually close less clients, which is challenging for those of us who want to be a winner, because it's like, hey, I had a ratio, like I had a little mathematical equation. If I do this much, I get this. And I had to recalibrate all of that.
But don't you think you like that? Like, you like those challenges because you're like, all right, this didn't work, so I'm going to change this up and do it this way. So I don't know. Like, I feel like you like those challenges.
I don't like it at first.
Nobody does.
Yeah. Like, I have the personality, though, that is like, all right, I'll try something and it won't work. And then I get really mad internally, which is frustration. And then it causes me to process and to think about, how can I do this differently? And then how can I go to someone else, typically who's already done it, and learn from them and like swipe and adapt that and then implement it myself.
But how beautiful is that?
Yeah.
Like, you just created another relationship with somebody, and then you're learning more, and then you're growing. And then I just think you're such a good coach too, and leader, passing your knowledge on to so many people. So like, you're taking it and you're spreading it. It's like, it's really beautiful.
Well, thank you.
Yeah. That's good stuff.
So here we are now. It's summer 2024. Can you share with me some tactics that you're doing that are helping people maybe maximize their dollar if they're listing a home? You list a lot of houses. Mm-hmm. So what are things that you're doing right now that are helping people get like peak price and the terms and everything that they want?
My number one thing I always say is neat and clean sells. It's how you present yourself, how you look. Timing is good to know kind of when you want to come on the market. You're not wanting to come on probably the week of the 4th of July because everybody's on vacation. So kind of talking about that kind of stuff as well. But just really just telling people those little things that they do in their houses for listing, it does make a difference. It does add up. But it's always good to have an agent come through, because sometimes they think it's important to do stuff that we're like, well, maybe you should put your time and energy into something else. So it's really prioritizing like those top, 3 to 5 things that are important that can really maximize their dollar and stuff like that. So, and then I think pricing appropriately. I tell sellers, we can't push the price and expect multiple offers at the same time. You just can't do that. So it's really setting the expectations of if we're going to price at a certain point, then what the expectations are, so they're not disappointed. And knowledge is power. So it's just trying to educate them and make them in the know, so that when something comes up, they're like, oh, Jen talked about this. I'm not surprised, so I know how to react. So that's kind of a lot of the philosophy that I do when I'm working with people, is the expertise makes a difference. Having agents that have been in the business for a while and can kind of foresee things that might be happening, prepare their clients so that when it does happen, it doesn't feel like it's such a big deal. And they're like, oh yeah, I got this. This is just a blip in the road.
Education on price point. So
absolutely,
is such a big thing that I personally see it from the outside. Mm-hmm. So this is my observation on pricing for the last couple of years. Is this is the difference between, this is an advisor's market now of getting the highest price versus any monkey could list a house 3 years ago and it would go into multiple offers. I will never forget that I saw a house a client of mine made an offer on. There was no pictures on the MLS and they had multiple offers. Right. So they just literally had a house listed. People flooded to it because there was so many more buyers than there was homes to buy. And the house just exploded into like 12 multiple offers, and it wasn't even marketed correctly. And it was the market. It wasn't the realtor.
Right.
And now what it seems to be is I'll see, so it's like, okay, let's say a house sold at 400, but it was really listed at 360. Now people are like, I want to list at 410 above what this last house that just, it just sold, the neighboring house just sold at 400. But the part that my observation is that they missed, it was underpriced. And that drove activity and drove people to get to that price. Now people are trying to go above that, thinking it's going to happen again.
Right. We just, exactly.
Yeah, so you see
push
that.
the price and expect multiple offers at the same time. You can't. Well, you can, but
doesn't work.
It doesn't work.
So something I see is clients come to me, and sometimes we're getting pre-approved a year in advance because they're just trying to say, hey, what does my financial landscape look like? And I'm going to be buying in a year. I'm under lease, or, our family life isn't quite there yet to meet our goals. But we want to know what we need to do to be in the best position possible. Do people ever do that with you? Mm-hmm. Do they come in and say, like maybe right now we're selling next spring?
Mm-hmm.
What? And so they do. So it's okay for the consumer to reach out to the agent way in advance.
Absolutely. I've had people, so for talking for sellers, absolutely do a market analysis a year in advance, because then it's decluttering, it's deep cleanings, and it feels better, I think, to not have to rush through decluttering. If you're doing a big move or you're downsizing, then you have some time to go through your stuff. And then if you have those projects that you need to do, you can do that. Plus, we're just watching the market too, so they can get their initial pricing done. And then as we just keep going through the year, then you can kind of see the ups and downs and stuff like that. So I just feel like they're more educated than when it comes time to actually go on the market, that they're going to be like, where are we sitting at? And they just feel more knowledgeable, so that I feel like it's calmer for a seller. For a buyer, I've worked with some buyers it's been like 4 or 5 years, and they didn't look at a ton of houses, but they might be the step-up buyer that they don't have to move or anything. Or you get the first-time buyers that are renting and they can take their time, which I just tell them, like, you're in a beautiful spot. You don't have to do anything. You're not high pressure. Take your time, enjoy the process. You'll know when the right house comes on, and that's where it's important, I feel like, for them to reach out to a realtor and have one realtor and pick somebody that you like, you jive with. I always want it to be me, but sometimes it's not. But I just tell people, find somebody that is going to work hard for you, because that's really what it is us working for buyers or sellers. So we're always interviewing is what I think. So that got off track. But then setting up the search from our MLS, which is the most accurate information, I think is very important for buyers. That's going to tell them if there's accepted offers on stuff, because it is frustrating to be out on some of the other websites that don't always disclose that, and be disappointed when there's an offer on it. And that's where, if you've got your agent, that's your go-to person. Use them as your resource. So that's what I just always tell buyers and sellers. Like, you don't have to call a bunch of people or reach out on a website and then have 10 people call you. It's just interview some people is what it is. Yeah. And then if you have questions, you just ask. You have that one person that you trust.
Yeah. Yeah. I like that. So it's okay to start early is what we're getting at.
You start early.
Yeah. It's easier for everybody. Actually, it's usually going to be easier for the consumer.
Absolutely.
If you start early.
Well,
versus I found the dream home, because this happens too, right?
All the time.
Yeah. Where it's like all of a sudden they call me and they're like, I found the house and we're not ready.
Mm-hmm.
And then they get crushed.
Yep.
Because maybe they have to sell their home.
Yeah.
And it's not ready to sell. And you go look at it and you're like, you're 3 months away from being able to get this house on the market. Or you're going to sell at a major discount because of the way it looks right now.
And that's the other thing too, is just with the pre-approval too, is I don't take buyers out unless they're pre-approved, because I tell them the number one thing is, if we're going into a house and you like it, I want you to feel confident that you can buy it. And so that's why I'm like, get pre-approved, know exactly where you stand. And then you're going in thinking, oh yeah, I like this house. I can buy it. I know what I can spend. And that's where it is important for people to get pre-qualified. Plus, just think of how much education that you do, Andy, with educating the buyers about their DTI or what they can afford, or their pre-approval might be up to a certain point, but can they really afford that and their house, you know, the lifestyle that they want. And you kind of really go through and talk to people about that. And I think that's important to do that, to know that lenders are there to educate buyers just like we are there to educate them about the real estate market. So it's a hand-in-hand relationship for sure.
What are some good strategies? So we're seeing right now that the move-up buyer, right, like the person that has gotten a more affordable home, the average person's in their house for 10 years, right? And that person's ready to move forward, right? Whether it be they need to change school districts, they, you know, had their second child, they got a new career so they can afford a bigger home, or it's just time, right? Where they're saying, we live in the city, we want to move to the country. There's a lot of different reasons why people are move-up buyers. What are some strategies for them to think about that if they're in that move-up buyer situation to be prepared for on the buy side?
Well, that's the pre-approval part, to see if they can, because the market's still competitive for them to be buying, that they still might be getting into multiple offers. And if you've got that home sale contingency, then that's tough sometimes. So I always say, find out if you can buy without having it contingent on your house selling. It doesn't mean you need to use it, but it's nice to have that card in your back pocket. In terms of like pricing stuff, they are making the money on the house that they purchased. So they're basically rolling their investment into a step up, which at the interest rates that we're at right now, maybe doesn't feel quite like that. But to know that these interest rates aren't going to be this high for that long. So there's the options of buying it down or refinancing in a few years. Because when the rates do go down, the market's going to heat up a little bit more, at which point then they may be paying more for the house. So it's kind of just weighing out those options. I know it's not going to be perfect, but we still need to keep moving on. And how can we do that the best way? And those are kind of some of the things that I see or talk about.
Yeah, it's historically values pop when rates come down.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I know appreciation's kind of slowed down, where it's down to about every kind of tranche of prices is a little bit different, but it seems to be about 3 or 4% appreciation. Have you seen kind of that?
Yep, I would agree with that. Yeah.
Yeah. And historically, I was reading a chart that even in the 80s, when rates got up to like 20%, when the rates started to fall down, values popped nationally, like 7-8% the year afterwards, because all of a sudden everybody goes from the sidelines. Our biggest challenge is we got interest rate lock, as you see it, for the move up.
Yep.
Where they're saying, I'm at 3, but I got to go to 6.5 or 7 or whatever it is. That lock, that difference is the reason why they don't want to move. Have you heard that?
Oh, for sure.
They're saying, I got a super cheap payment. I don't want to go to the big payment.
I can understand that, too.
That's where we can look at buy downs or different strategies. We have multiple clients under contract with buy downs right now.
Right.
Because this midsummer time is like the beautiful time for the move up buyer, because the spring market is behind us. Right? Where now, like when it's like peak multiple offers, where it's very frustrating as a buyer. You know, I'm sure your buyers, we give you feedback that after a while, it's like, oh my gosh, I lost out on 4 different homes.
Yeah.
Like now the market kind of, I would say more like equalizes.
Yeah, it's not
strong.
Yeah, it's more even, I would say. It's not as insane on either end.
We're seeing contingent offers being accepted right now.
Yes.
Which is awesome. So for those that aren't following the market, contingent offers in the last 3-4 years have been hard.
Non-existent.
Yeah. Which
you were out.
I know the average consumer, though, they can't afford 2 houses.
No.
Nor do they want to. It scares them to death.
Yeah.
To think I have to have a $2,000 payment and a $3,000 or $4,000. Like that just scares them so much. They just say, no,
yeah,
I'm good. Yeah. But I could maybe absorb the higher rate to do the move up. Right. So it's move up time right now.
Right.
I feel like, and trying to do it before the market picks up.
Yep. And I've had a couple clients just decide to rent their house out. You know, they had it at such a good price, such a good interest rate. They're like, we're just going to keep their existing house as a investment property now and have it be a rental, and then go ahead and buy a different property too. So that's an option too if you're wanting to get in an investment.
That's a great segue. So how many investment properties do you own right now?
We have 14 units. So
awesome.
Yeah.
So
some fourplex and duplexes.
Very, very cool.
Yeah.
So you had to step into that though, right?
Yes.
So for the common person, they hear that and they already think, wow, that's a lot, right? You have to manage 14 different units. That seems like a big job to have, but I get calls every week of, I'm interested in investing in real estate. Like, what would be your advice for someone that's looking at getting their first investment property? It's a huge wealth creator.
It totally is.
And the market is everything for real estate.
Yep. I would say my first advice would be try to do owner occupied. Try to get that better interest rate. Try to get those least amount down. Because if you're going into it as a non-owner occupied, you're looking at 20 to 25% down. So it is, if you can get a better interest rate and less down payment, that would be the way to do it. But it's one at a time. So our goal when we started investing was our first one we purchased was it was 20 years ago. And that was the goal, to get these to help pay for our college tuition for the kids. And now that we're done with all of that, it worked really well. But it was just buying the right ones at the right time that fit with what we believed in and what fit into our portfolio. So, there was definitely opportunities to buy them along the way that didn't quite feel good. So you pass on some of them, and other ones, you're like, yep, this is great.
So you get to learn how to manage them through working with Roger.
Yes.
So
for sure.
That's beautiful.
It is. Yeah. It was a wealth of information that I just didn't even know about. And then I was like, yeah, I want to do this. This is great. I love it.
Yeah. And with the values in the last 10, 15 years.
Oh, for sure.
You probably, would you say those are the best investments financially you've ever made?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. You could make 3, 4, 5 times your money at this point.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's been good.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah, it's like it's another avenue of your investment portfolio instead of, we've got stuff in stocks and, retirement funds, but it's also good to have real estate. That's a steady investment.
It is. And it's consistent, over the long term. Mm-hmm. We've seen it consistently go up.
Yeah.
Right, in the last 100 years. But the entire United States has only gone down a couple of times.
Right, exactly.
That's a pretty good bet.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. So if a client wants to help or wants to start creating a real estate portfolio, you'd be a great resource.
Absolutely. Yeah, I'm an open book on what we do. Everybody does it differently, for sure. I've seen so many people do different things. So again, it's finding a person that you jive with, to talk about different ways to have your investment portfolio. But absolutely, I'm happy to talk about that stuff.
Very, very cool.
It's exciting.
So you have some interesting listings right now, and it's after my own heart, that you have this condo development, or not necessarily condo, commercial condo development for sale right now. Tell me about that.
Yes. So this has been something that's got me so out of my comfort zone that I'm just loving. So it's a commercial project. It's called Troy Condo Garages. So condo garages you can own, storage you can own. And you'll see these over in Chanhassen and Minnetonka, they're all over the Twin Cities. And what it is, it's people purchasing garages, and they can store their cars, their boats, their RVs. They can tinker in them. They can build them out to be like an extension of their home, to be like a living room or a gathering place. Somebody wants to put a pickleball court in, or a golf simulator, or just work on their cars. But it's been a really cool project it's been so good.
I think it's really cool because I see you host car shows there now a couple times a year. It's becoming like a community.
Yes. So I think when I started doing the project, it was, okay, we're selling storage, and it's zone commercial. So some people can have businesses, and there's certain types of businesses, or people can have offices in there. But the surprising thing about this whole complex is the community, just as you said. It's a community of people that love being there. They love hanging out there. It's a huge networking area for people to kind of coming in. Yeah, it just is exposing me and the people that are in there to just such great relationships. It's been really fun to see that. And one thing I never thought I'd do in my job is I now know how to host a car show. So yes, we have 3 car shows that we're doing over the summer. Our second one is July 20th. It is a Saturday. It's from noon to 3, and people can bring their cars, register them. But it's also a wonderful way for the owners to be able to open the doors to the units that they have, that they've built out, and show them off to people that come there. So it's a great opportunity if people are like, what is a car condo? What is our condo garage? What is this all about? Why are people spending this kind of money on storage? You can come and just see in a non-threatening environment. It's just open. It's fun. We have we have a food truck coming, and it's just, I don't know, it'll just be fun. And
Yeah.
cars are cool.
Yeah, super cool cars. I was there last year for one of them, and they had a bunch of the doors open. So it was really cool to see some of like the car collections some of these people had, and there was like Lambos and McLarens, and there was some like, I was kind of surprised, like some higher end vehicles there, and we brought some of ours there. It's very, very, very
A
cool.
lot of Porsches, yeah.
Yeah, so you get like this whole hobby thing that's going into, so you get some fun along between it to sell it.
And I think with this concept over where we are in Hudson, it was a newer concept. So that was me taking my realtor hat off and being like, okay, Jen, let's be the marketer here. Like, how are we going to get people to come over the border, to come to our complex, to invest in what we have going on here? So that's been a labor of love too, just trying to put on different hats and think outside the box to be like, how can we draw attention here? How can we have people feel good about coming into a newer complex? Because our complex is only like a year and a half old, and we've sold the first phase. We're halfway through selling out the second phase. So it's going really well. And the traction, you can see the traction growing, and our name is showing up with some of the other big name condo garage projects, which I think is really laying the groundwork to have people feel secure, feel like it's a good investment, because these are really a good investment. And so if people want to grow their portfolio, you can buy one of these because you can rent it out, you can hang on to it for a while, and then you'll make money on it, especially as the Twin Cities keeps growing out. This is where it is, Andy.
I feel like you're just trying to convince me to go home to my wife and say, we need a car condo to put my cars in.
I can just write up that offer to
right now. Well, the way you're passionate about those car condos and the commercial condos, I think, is the way that you're passionate about your business, and that's why you're a huge success.
Yeah.
So thank you so much for taking the time to share your story with me today. I think you're one of the best in the business.
You were so sweet. I ditto to you. I just loved it. You and I always do good together, so that's good. Yeah. No, thank you, Andy.